In a big statement from new Chief of Defence Staff General BIPIN Rawat, while speaking at the Raisena dialogue, has said that India must be ready for a 9/11 type response to terror. He was, of course, talking about global terror and of those who not only shield terrorists but also use their land, their governments, their resources to perpetuate terror on others. It is but an unprecedented warning coming in for Pakistan, because General Rawat also said that if the FATF fails to blacklist Pakistan, then India will have to take a decisive action. Listen.
The future of terrorism is that terrorism is here to stay. So long as there are going to be states that are going to be sponsoring terrorism, so long there are going to be states that are going to use terrorists as their proxies, make weapons available to them, make the funding for them, we cannot control terrorism. And therefore, what is the final end state that we wish to arrive at? We have to bring an end to terrorism, and that can only happen the way the Americans started after 9/11. They said, let's go on a spree on global war on terror and let the nations join together and fight terrorism together. Well, to do that, what do you have to do? You have to isolate the terrorists. Anybody who's sponsoring terrorism has to be taken to task. You cannot have partners who are partnering with you in the global war on terror and yet sponsoring proxies and terror.
You're referring to Pakistan?
I'm referring to any country which is sponsoring terror. Yes.
How do you deal with a problem like Pakistan?
Yeah, therefore the problem with this is you have to have an international messaging that has to go to them, hard action being taken. And I feel one of the measures that has been adopted is blacklisting by the FATF is one good measure. Diplomatic isolation. You have to do this. You have to bring about acceptability in the nation that yes, they are sponsors of terrorism. Denial of terrorism, to say that they are not denying it, they are themselves victims of terrorism, cannot continue for on. And I think we have to get the bull by these horns and take them to task.
So then
Major General G.D. Bakshi is also joining us on that big statement that has been made by the new Chief of Defence Staff. Major General, what do you make of a 9/11 type response? Of course, he's talking about global terror, and that really needs to be need of the hour. As the Chief said, the global terror is here to stay. All that we need to do is be hard on those sponsoring terror.
Absolutely. I think he's hit the nail positively on the head. You want to, tackle terror head on, then there has to be that international coalition. And there cannot be double standards. There cannot be hypocrisy in the realm of terror. What is terror for one country? The definition has to be common and arrived at. If you hit the United States, there is one set of consequences. You hit Israel, there is another set of consequences. But if you hit India and you kill Indian citizens, well, it's okay. And India doesn't have that same right of response, that same right of self-defense. That is arrant nonsense. I think India is now a big power. We don't have to look over our shoulder to others. We appeal to the global community to come together to fight the scourge of terrorism, which is a crime against humanity. If it comes together, well and good. The Financial Action Task Force has been grey-listing Pakistan almost forever. But so far, we have not really seen any real action. So if the global, community does not come together to end terror, the government of India is duty-bound to protect the lives and property of its citizens. And it will carry out that duty. That is exactly what this Chief of Defence Staff has said. We will take action.
Major General G.D. Bakshi, I'm sorry for interrupting you here. I do thank you for joining us. Let me also quickly go across to Colonel V.N. Thapar, who's been waiting on the line. When he says a 9/11 type response, what do you think the Chief of Defence Staff really means, Colonel Thapar? What could India do?
He means exactly what happened after 9/11. You know what happened in Afghanistan and on the border areas of Pakistan. The same kind of trouble is being spread here in our area of Kashmir, and the only way to get over it is to destroy those elements which are trying to create havoc over here. And in that kind of a mission, when you have to chase and hit them, we will do whatever the chief of the defense staff has said. In fact, in my opinion, this kind of an action should have happened much longer, much earlier, and and by now we would have come over this problem. The other is the FATF. FATF must take action because there's nothing that is improved if they don't take action now. And incidentally, there is news that aid is being given to them even now. So with that kind of a scenario, there's nothing, no option. We can't have an army of the size that we have got and keep on getting our people killed over there. It's not possible. And therefore, the response is going to be there, and the response will be exactly what the chief has said, what the CDS has said.
All right. Well, certainly India has changed the rules of engagement with Pakistan and Pakistan-sponsored terror over the last 2 years. General Rawat, former army chief, knows all too well about it. And it isn't casually that someone like him, now in a position of Chief of Defence Staff, makes a statement like this. Colonel V. Thapar, I appreciate you joining us.